Always back to base. Moments of light with Toro the Decoder. You walk through town and catch eyes with a beggar. And when your heart is still in the right place, the first reaction is to help. You might give the beggar some money, but you don't know what he's going to do with it. And maybe buying something that drags the beggar even more down. Maybe you go and buy some food for the beggar and give it. At least you're sure what is done with the money. However, maybe it is first for me to realize that I am a poor beggar, asking for things of the world, things that most likely make life more complicated. Maybe I asked these things even from God, and actually saying, God, you don't know what I need. This is for me to reflect and to get back to base. Being not clear and not realizing what I am actually begging for. You walk through town, and at a little distance before you an elderly person stumbles. And when your heart is still in the right place, the first reaction is to help that person. You could ask yourself why this is happening before you and for you, and you can get back to base. I could look at myself and life and realize that I unnecessarily stumble by setting myself up to stumble. Maybe going too fast and wanting too much and too fast and doing too much. This is for me reflecting and to get back to base, taking inventory and assisting myself in life, and to not set myself up to stumble. You walk through town and see one homeless person after another. And when your heart is still in the right place, the first reaction is you wanting to help. You might give some money, and again not knowing what that person is going to do with it, and also realizing that this in the long run will not work. Here I came to the realization again to first make inventory myself and getting back to base. In general, I see a person that possibly doesn't really care about him or herself by looking at their hygiene and body language. That is basically their business card. And not to forget, possibly addicted to drugs or a very negative outlook at themselves and society. It is not for me to figure this all out, nor to judge it, but I could make inventory myself in my life and getting back to base. Am I really taking care of my body and care about it in the best way possible? And what is my outlook at myself and society? How do I present myself being a walking and talking business card? You walk through town and see many deformed bodies walking around and many sick individuals. And when your heart is still in the right place, the first reaction is you wanting to help and have empathy. I brought it straight away back to myself and getting back to base. How is my body posture? And what do I do all that contributes to possibly ending up with signs, symptoms, and disease? Am I willing to study deeper what this body actually needs? Or is it being a prisoner of my own habits, tastes, and cravings? Do I think a little further in regards all the suffering involved in the productions of all the foods? Is my state of well-being and awareness and calling myself a human being not jeopardized when I don't become a good responsible manager? And what am I willing to do and change? You're sitting in a coffee shop and hear young people just complaining and even cursing life and others. And when your heart is still in the right place, the first reaction is empathy. You're probably not able to do anything, but I could reflect this complaining and pointing straight back to myself, back to base I am, and looking in what areas and situations I blame, complain and point and even judge and curse. You hear about wars, individuals being in extreme situations and children dying of hunger, and when your heart is still in the right place, the first reaction is empathy and how could I help? Maybe in some cases you could contribute with some money when you have it. Maybe your vote could make a change. But the best is first getting back to base. I ask myself, how am I starving my body by not giving it proper nutrients, rest and sleep? And what are my wars within my own self and possibly with the world? You are in front of the TV or on your computer, and you hear people and extremists criticizing and even condemning others about anything they do and believe in. You go on social media and everybody is selling you something and having an answer and a solution for everything and anything. And when your heart is still in the right place, the first reaction is empathy. In the big picture and deeper understanding of why things are happening and the entire history before something appears in the moment, we have no idea. But clues, formulas, strategies, books and reports, including individuals that speak, being a specialist, and their insight, and of course all the promises made by following these absolutes, is setting ourselves up for even more confusion. For me, it is reflecting all this back to myself and looking in what areas of life I am still extreme. And of course, watching all the statements of the truth. All are not the truth, but a truth. And as long as I connect an expectation to them, I set myself up for failure and frustration. Again, for me it is always back to base and staying just busy with the necessities of life, doing my best to stay vital and aware. When confronted with something that needs outside help, I do my research, make a decision and go for it, but without any expectation. The most important for me is the base, and not taking more than I need, and that I am not contributing to more suffering in the world, but even more basic, doing my inner silent prayer and meditation to get me out of the way. By doing so, I interfere less with all what is happening, get less sucked into it all, stay a better person and observer, and constantly try to play my roles better on the theater stage of life. It is for me to stay awake and aware of the fact that everything is not real and forever, but a fantasy and dream in which I learn to play my roles and to get me out of the way, so that the real something inside of this body can self-realize itself and return to the source of the only real reality, that which doesn't change, is not bound to time, duality, or the law of causality. Let peace return to peace and be peaceful forever. For me, it is always back to this base, and try to do this with a smile on my face.